Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Evelyn Johnson here with In the Beginning, getting ready to get us started as we move into our nonprofit development webinar for this week. We are doing good. All right. Wanted to just come on and make sure that we have everything going good. I am still getting everything organized here and making sure that we have everything operational. But this is week 2, and we are here with our nonprofit development webinar. I have a guest that came in with me today, Sharnae Johnson, who is and will be doing her own business but it's expanding her development and information into ITB and how we're doing things, and making sure she's getting a good understanding of it, because I know she's eventually going to be opening up a facility in West Virginia as an offshoot from ITB, a health program. But this is Sharnae Johnson, our COO. She's our Chief Operations Officer for In the Beginning. And what she does with us is she does everything that's operational, things that Kristen and I don't do. I don't do anything that creation of forms and management of the employee processes and our HR stuff, and even some accounting things. So she dips into all of those things. And so tonight, Sharnae is on just to be here and she wanted to jump on today and say, hey, because I have questions about starting a nonprofit for myself, and I wanted to be on this webinar. So I'm glad she came. So say hey to everyone, Sharnae, and thank you for
everybody. Thank you for having me, Ms. Johnson. It's a pleasure. I have been watching your videos, your webinars. I've seen you teach classes in person, and I do know a little. I know enough where I can answer questions, of course, and be accurate. But for me, as you were stating, I am starting I will be starting a rural health clinic in West Virginia, which will encompass just general primary care for adults and children, maternal health services, substance and mental health services, and an array of diagnostic testing that we could do in-house. So I've worked in these types of clinics. I do not know the business aspect of how to set these things up for profit. So I'm on here to learn and ask some questions and just understand more so when it actually comes to what I'm trying to do with my actual business. It's one thing when I'm listening to you guys talk about other businesses, but when it really comes to mine, I do need some more direction, and this is the best place to get the information from. So again, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to see how I'm gonna start this clinic in West Virginia.
Good. And thank you for coming on. Look, we're going to get this meeting started, and we're going to get it over tonight, because I know everybody is excited about getting to the debate. And I don't want to prolong any of this. So again, I'm Evelyn Johnson with In the Beginning Incubator and Fund, located here in Richmond, Virginia at 919 East Main Street, Suite 1000 on the 10th floor. Richmond, Virginia, 23219. And what we do there is we offer space, we offer shared opportunities for you expanding and building your business. But we also offer a lot of different types of business services. Last week, we covered business startup services. This week, we start to get into the conversation of nonprofit and nonprofit development. So, as I said, we have Sharnae on tonight with us. And Sharnae, you just pop in when you have a question. But what we're going to be discussing tonight in our agenda will be the need for a board if you're LLC, C Corp, or S Corp. How do I choose board members? Purpose and mission. Funding, some funding options. We'll look at a few, and then some team building, and then we'll actually look at the forms that you will need for your operation of your nonprofit. And one of the biggest things that we're going to get into is, do I need a board?
So I'm actually going to ask you a question quick already, because for ITB we do have an executive board and an advisory board. And I asked the question not too long ago, is it necessary for us to actually have the advisory board? And you told me it's not a necessity. You don't paper for us to be an S Corp, we don't have to have it, but you put it in place. So the question is, why don't we have to have it as an S Corp? And why did you actually think we needed the advisory board for setting up? Because we have the advisory and the executive. And we're S Corp, so we're not a nonprofit. So I just wanted to specify that, because some people may just not know that we do have 2 boards.
Okay. That's a great opening, because I'm going to lead to some things, and I'm going to actually play a little brief video for that to answer that question for you as well. But based on the slide that we have in front of us, all public companies, and I think it needs to be clear, a nonprofit is still a business. You're still a business, and you have to be either a LLC or a corporation. You have to be one of the two. You can't just be a sole proprietorship. And even though you're LLC and or a corporation, you can still go and apply to be a nonprofit. But all nonprofits are organizations, and organizations are set up differently from a sole proprietorship. And because they are set up different, they are required, all nonprofits. Now, if you're a C corporation, if you're LLC, or if you're S corporation, you are still required to have a board of directors. And to answer Charnay's question was, do we need a board of directors and an advisory board? It is optional. And I'm going to give you a video in a couple of seconds to discuss the options there. But any organization, you're not a nonprofit organization until the federal government designates you as a nonprofit. So all businesses start out as for-profit businesses to some capacity. Now, before you have a 165 to almost 200-day window to apply for your tax ID status to become a nonprofit. But initially, when you start your organization as a nonprofit, you can operate as a nonprofit would. But in order for you to be legally recognized as a nonprofit, you do have to file the proper paperwork. You still have to get your tax ID number. You still have to register with your state corporation commission. And because you have to do those 2 steps, you still have to designate your organization as what type of organization it's going to be and what type of organization it's going to function as. So it could be a LLC, a limited liability corporation. It could just be a corporation, and those it's fine. But even as a nonprofit, you have to be one of those 2. So that answers that question. And in the state of Virginia, in most states, if you're LLC or a corporation or a C Corp or S Corp, which is those are stock type of corporations. If you're any of those corporations, you have to have a board of directors. And for the purposes of today, I'm going to share some information with you, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I'm going to play a video for you. So
is the board of directors the same as executive board? Is it just interchangeable names, or is it totally different?
It's interchangeable. And in most of your questions that you have, we're going to answer them right now. So okay. Give us a second and we'll get it started, and you can see it. So here's the video.
A board of directors is a formal construct for every company that essentially provides governance for the company. A board has a number of different functions and responsibilities. Think about them breaking into formal and informal. The formal responsibilities include things such as hiring and firing the CEO, representing shareholders, representing the different investors in the company, and representing the founders of the company. You have a responsibility, duty of care to do things in a way that's in the best interest of the company and responsible for the company, and a duty of loyalty not to create situations that are conflicts for you and the company, and keep any information that happens as a board confidential to the company. The informal responsibilities of the board are often the ones that have the most impact. As an investor, my responsibility is to do anything that CEO needs to be successful. So whatever he or she wants as help from me as a board member, that's my job. When you think about the functional responsibilities around the company and the division of labor between a CEO and a board, it's very easy to define the boundaries. The CEO runs the company, period. The decision the board needs to make is whether or not they support the CEO. If the board supports the CEO, it should be easy for the board to let the CEO run the company. Now, a great CEO is very transparent with the board about what he or she is doing in running the company. So it's important that that be a two-way street. It's not, okay, CEO, run the company, and we board will just close our eyes and ignore what's going on. It's, you CEO have the responsibility and authority to run the company, but communicate to us what's going on and include us in the hard decisions that you have to make. Make sure you use us for our expertise, and make sure we're never surprised as a board about what's happening in the context of the company. There are some very specific things that the board should take responsibility for doing, for example, for compensation for the CEO. And this compensation is both base, bonus, and equity. Most boards end up having a compensation committee that the CEO and the head of HR or the CFO are reporting to in the context of proposing different compensation agreements that the comp committee then has to approve. Another primary responsibility of the board is auditing the performance of the business. And oftentimes you'll have a formal audit committee of the board. This audit committee requirement of investors especially is important as a control mechanism and a governance mechanism in the context of the company. The audit committee pays attention to what's going on from a financial perspective and provides advice back to the CEO and the leadership team about what needs to happen. I think early stage companies benefit from creating boards early. And the reason for this is that it establishes a level of formality around the running and execution of the business. Now, the level of accountability that they have to the board in a formal way is pretty lightweight, again, at those early stages. It's mostly informal, but it does force them to interact with the board on a regular basis. It does cause the entrepreneurs to learn how to build the muscles of having board meetings, of having to talk about where they're going with the business on, a quarterly, annual, multi-year time horizon with an objective set of board members that in a lot of cases are good practice for what it's going to look like when you scale up your company and have venture investors and a much more sort of serious heavyweight board. The other reason to have a board early on is that engaged board members can help you tremendously with the growth of your business. If you think about one of your roles as an entrepreneur, it's to collect people. You're trying to collect great people to the business, great employees, great investors, great customers, great advisors, great board members. And you can use the board as a tool to engage some people in your business in a much more substantive way that helps you build your business and grow and expand your business. So don't lose sight of the value, especially early on, of what a board member can do to help accelerate your business based on their own experience and their own connections. The board of directors is a formal construct and has formal responsibilities. An advisory board is an informal construct that tends not to have any formal responsibilities. A lot of entrepreneurs create advisory boards for their companies for two reasons. One is to try to show that there are capable, interesting, famous people associated with the companies. And then the second is that a lot of entrepreneurs don't want the formal relationship with the board, especially early in the life of the company. My general feeling about advisory boards is that they tend to be pretty weak. There are cases where entrepreneurs do a very good job of managing an advisory board, but in those cases, they have to be very proactive about managing the advisory board and getting the advisors actively engaged with the company. I encourage in those cases to consider which of the advisory board members would make good board members and then formalize the relationship by having them be board members, because then they'll take a lot more responsibility and engagement, both informally and formally.
Okay, so that gave us some pretty good insight. I think. Okay, sorry. Back now. Apologize for that. Sharnae, did that answer a couple of your questions that you had about the differences between And as ITB is expanding and growing and scaling, we have the capacity to actually, we're doing those things
Yeah,
as
that's what I was gonna say. That's what I
yeah,
was gonna say.
that
Just
we
from
actually,
ITV, just our meeting we had yesterday with a joint meeting. He said the advisory board is kind of weak. I don't agree with that statement with our board. We have had to people, people come in, people come out, because it might be too much or just life. So in that sense, I guess it could be weak, but the people that really want to help the business and, like he said, help the CEO and really just believe in her vision, or well, your vision, believe in your vision and believe in the vision of the company, they pretty much, that's why we have the great advisory board that we have, because they believe in the vision, they believe in you, they believe what we're doing for the community. So I can see that their questions were answered from the video. So thank you. Yeah, I do.
yeah. The thing about it is with that board member process, we were new, so we started off with an advisory board and an executive direct and an executive board, and I think we're going to benefit from both. I think
Yes, I agree.
having the advisory board gives us the capacity now to invite individuals onto the executive board, and now we have a more clarity of what it means to be part of that executive board, and versus the advisory board.
Yeah,
Another thing is that I see that we didn't implement, we simply implemented a $25 a month dues for advisory members. But when you become an executive board member, you actually, because we're S corporation, you purchase stocks into the business.
right.
Now we have to value the stocks and change and create that space, but that is our next step for everyone that is a part of the organization. So I did this in a different manner than what I normally do, is because I wanted folks to see the complexity of what a general board is. And this is the same process for a for-profit board or a nonprofit organization. They function very much the same way. And so all of the information that we're sharing, it is definitely not specific to for-profit or nonprofit. It is specific to the type of business or that you form. Meaning, if you're LLC, you still have to have a board of directors. If you're a corporation, a C corporation, you still have to have a board of directors. And if you're S corporation, you still have to have a board of directors. And an S corporation is more of a stock holding corporation, and those are the ones that have to purchase stocks to be a part of the process. So there's no difference in the nonprofit arena in that space versus for-profit or nonprofit. It just, once you apply for your nonprofit status is when you become a nonprofit. So I want to move on to how do I find board members, because that's always an interesting question, and that folks always ask us too.
Can I answer that question though?
Yeah, you can answer. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I think I want to see your slide after. Let me answer and then change your slide if you don't mind. I believe the best way to find board members is how we found our board members. We literally have board members on our board that we have never known. We've never met them until we started the business. We have family members on our boards. We have people in the community that we have known for a long time that we actually have worked in a business capacity with them before and in their businesses at one point or another. So, and then we just have board members that were our clients that have become board members, that we met them as clients when you were working by yourself with all about your business, when Ms. Johnson was just doing business plans and grants and things like that by herself. So our board is community leaders, entrepreneurs, retirees, family members that have been in or are in their field for 10, 20 plus years. So as for instance, we have someone on our board that has been in HR for all their life. So their expertise for me, especially when we were starting a business, on how to get everybody on board as employees, I reached out to that person a lot. So I think the best way to find your board members is if you do have people that you have in mind, and keep this in mind, when you are doing your board, you're going to be telling people, like Ms. Johnson said last week, when you're starting your business, tell people about your business. So when you actually are getting ready to start the business and now you need the board and you're like, okay, I need to start doing meetings and do Zooms and capture our meetings and things like that and record this stuff, people again will drop off and drop on. But because you've already told people about your business, they'll still be like, oh, well, now you're really doing the business. Okay, I'll come to the meeting, things like that. Whoever, pray about everything. Whoever God puts on your heart, ask them. And as my mother has I hate saying my mother, but Miss Johnson, she has a great way of bringing out the best qualities of a person. I have never been in this space as a COO, but I am very organized, and that's exactly what I do for ITB. I organize everything paperwork wise. I literally have no problem working for ITB and with ITB because it doesn't feel like a job. I'm doing stuff that I normally would do for other people. It just has no medical aspect to it for me personally. So you have to find people that you know can do what you need them to do on the board, if that makes sense. And that definitely was with Praying, because she knew that I did this stuff, but how to correlate that in this ring without any medical, to me, was kind of hard. Like, how am I going to do this when I've never done this? I've never had like an office job doing stuff like this, but I'm still doing medical stuff, and it's a natural talent for me. So it was an easy fit.
Yeah.
But finding board members, again, telling people about your business, telling people about your business vision. The people that really support you and believe in your vision will come. They may not come in the beginning, but they'll come sporadically, and they'll be there to stay, or they'll be there for a season. But again, we have family members, community leaders, entrepreneurs, people that have been in certain industries for a while that we can utilize, accounting, things like that. So that's how we found our board. And I do think that is the best way to find your board. And I'm just going to end it with praying about it. That's how you'll find your board. Pray about it, and God will bring the people to you.
Yes, and that is definitely true. All of that is true. That is our process. And I don't look for individuals that think that, first of all, when you choose board members, don't choose a bunch of yes people. That's your most dangerous space. If you're not having challenges with your decision making and things of that nature, and especially as a CEO, you have to be strong enough in your spot as a CEO, as a president, as the leader of the organization, not to just be able to tell people what to do, but also how to communicate to them the need and what needs to get done, and to support them doing it, and to anticipate their needs as well. You need to be able to look in people, as Sharnae said, which is I believe, one of my best qualities. And it's only because I've been a mother and wife for 30, 40 years. So it's something that comes very natural to me. This piece is one of the most natural pieces. I listen to people I try to listen really well, and I try to pair them up with the need that we have. And if we don't have a need, I don't have a problem with, this is not something that we need to be doing right now. But if we do, and I see them as a benefit, it is definitely something. Some other places that Sharnae didn't mention that we do, and that we did find some board members, were from social media. One of our folks that's on our board.
Right off of Facebook.
Yeah, we met him on Facebook. He's a constant sharer of our information and supporting ITB. And so we finally had a conversation, and I let him know what our business was, and this is something that he might be interested in. He's a bookkeeper. He's a bookkeeper, and he has if you see us, you see Rose Lane on our information. That's one of our board members.
Shout out Mr. Sam.
Yeah. And so he's on that's one of our board members. And most of us have not physically ever met him, but he's on
Oh,
every meeting. He's supporting and doing his work. Now, other places, like Sharnay said, local businesses, we have businesses involved with ITB that over the years, we've seen them, we've seen their work ethic, we've seen their business. And we have about 3 or 4 businesses owners on our board that have actual businesses with ITB. So
and
we're
I
happy
think,
about that, and other businesses,
yeah,
not only connected with ITB, but other businesses as well. The thing about it is you don't have to, even if it's a person that you feel like it might be they may be a little bit argumentative, it's not a reason to not have them on your board, because you need individuals to challenge you as a CEO or president or whatever your role is that you choose as the leader, in the title that you choose as the leader. You need to have people on there that are going to challenge you, to push you to go to the next level, and to ask you the hard questions of yourself, and that you probably don't want to answer, but they'll ask them. And so those are not people that you need to stay away from. Constantly argumentative people, those type of people, you don't need that. But people that definitely challenge you, you probably need those. I looked up in the city of Richmond, the Community Foundation, and they have, in going to the State Association for Nonprofits, the Community Foundation located here in Richmond has a component that they have just on their webpage for volunteers. If you need any type of volunteer, you can list your volunteer on there. And if you need to be listed on there as a volunteer, you can be listed on there as well. That is a space that you can go and look for individuals that are potentially board members. Networking, you should always, as your business is growing and expanding, you should always do some type of capacity of networking. And your team should be making recommendations for individuals to come and work with you and maybe potentially be board members. Contact local foundations. That always works. You can let them know we're looking for board members, anybody that, and the way you find that out is you start out at a common cause, and with the common cause. You don't have to be about the common people. You just need to make sure that you all are basing it on, this is the cause that we always work with. Everybody that's on our board, especially past volunteers that I work with as volunteers in other organizations, I invited them because I knew their work ethic from being in those organizations, and I knew how we work together as a team to get things done. Mm-hmm. So that's a space that when you're starting to look for board members, those are the things that you start to think about. And again, it doesn't have to be all family. That's not necessarily, all my family is not part of our board. All of our family is not part of our program. We have the Entrepreneur Academy getting ready to start next month. And one of my third cousins is one of the accountant teachers. I mean, you pick and choose where you need to put your family. If you are blessed, as I am, to have a large family on my mom's side and my dad's side, and I work with different folks as our need ITB presents. And the biggest thing is, as Sharnay said, pray about it before you make those decisions, as well as, and allow the Lord to lead you in that space. Allow yourself to be led to, okay, all right, this is what I have. And Lord, this is my challenge with getting this done. And if he brings a name or a thought to your mind, that's how you respond to it. And so that also means take recommendations from any other folks. That is great. If someone says this person didn't work out for me for a board member, but I think they would be great for you, that is a good that's a recommendation. I'm not going to say that's a great recommendation. Find out why it didn't work.
Well, someone else's trash could be your treasure, so you never know. It could work out great for you.
Somebody else's trash could just be trash too. So don't get it all. We're not going to get all caught up. But we like recommendations, and that's okay. But I'm just saying, be realistic and measured with your decisions when you're starting to take recommendations, as well as invite individuals. You are welcome. Your team is welcome to invite people. We already have a couple of individuals that we're ready to invite to be part of our executive board. And we're going to have that discussion with our executive board, and we'll walk through that process. But that's an invite only, and it comes with expectations, and it comes with a lot of things that have to be hammered out before we do it. But understand, you can have more than one board, and it is better to have more than one board. As Sharnae said, we have two. And we started mostly with our advisory board doing most of the work versus our executive board. Our executive board is getting ready to get into gear step because we're getting ready to invite investors to the table. And when you start to invite investors to the table, and what that means is they're going to be invested. They're putting some money into ITB. Therefore, they get to have a voice in ITB. And their voice is stronger. And their work is harder. And their work is more than our advisory board. And so that is the next space that we're moving into. So that is why the process is changing. And as we grow and as your business grows, you grow through this. That's why I showed that video, because that's the very, very start of that process when you're very starting off. And this is great information for when you're a very new startup. And when I say startup, a startup is your first 1 to 3 years. If you're still operating in your first 1 to 3 years, you are still considered a startup. So if you're getting these things organized and in place, but anytime between that first 1 to 3 years, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And if you're kind of feeling like you're fumbling through the process, you probably are.
You need to come to ITB so we can help you, because we want you in our incubator for the first 1 to 3 years to help with all the bumps in the road that do occur in the startup stages of your business. Yeah. So sorry to cut you off, Ms. Johnson, but I had to loop us back in there. If you are a startup, please give us a call so we can help you through this process, help you with your paperwork, help you with your HR. We specialize in our services. That's what we do. So if you are having any questions, anything, please give us a call, because we're here to help, and that's what we do. And we're not landlocked. Anywhere you can give us a call, we definitely can help you out and get you situated to help you feel more confident in what you're doing, so you can literally just do what you love doing. And whatever your business is, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, I just want to do what I love doing. I just want to help people. In my clinic, I just want to help people. So speaking of the clinic, because I'll be a nonprofit technically, will I have more than one board because it's a medical facility?
That is my recommendation. I would have at least 3 to 4. I would have the executive board that is organizing and getting things organized. I would have an advisory board that really is your community voice. I would also have a technical component board as well. Someone who will manage, who will oversee your doctors, your nurses, and all of that. I would have all of that. I would have at least those 2 or 3 up to 4 boards, just to have that you're making sure that you're over. And I would even do HR, because you might get into some complexities. A board of with HR and combine that board to do accounting, your fiscal management, as well as overall HR duties and legal, making sure that you don't, because when you get into the medical space, you always need to be protected with a lot of insurance, and making sure you know what you're protected against and what you can say. So I would do 3 or 4.
So like have a board with lawyers and accounting people.
Well, your lawyers, I would combine my lawyers with my HR people and also my numbers people. And the reason why I would do that is because those 3 have a tendency to try to overpower everything. But if you have those 3 spaces for a company, as we know, they can overpower different spaces. But regardless of everything, we need to have expertise dictating who our doctors are, who our nurses are, what that process needs to look like. That doesn't need to be competition.
You're right.
And just the overall running of the organization, it doesn't need to be a competition. But your legal component, that is a component that I would combine with a few other. You could definitely have a board of attorneys, but you could also have one attorney. You could also have a HR generalist and everything that does everything, or you could have different types of HR. You can have HR that does hiring and things of that nature, but you also could have HR that does benefits management and all of that. It's
Right.
a
Okay.
of all of those things, and then you
And
can,
and could that benefit management be of the employees and for our patients?
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. And
Okay.
so you can get it can get really, really, really complex. So I think all of those components for boards would be great.
Okay.
And the reasoning why you need the complexities is when it starts to get into this space that we're in right now, funding.
Okay.
And understanding the capacity of funding and the requirements that are required for funding. Say you want to do funding and you want to specialize in a lot of grant funding, but you also want to raise money for yourself. When you start getting into the spaces of raising money for yourself, raising money, period, just getting in investors, and investors are funders as well. So it could be you could do grants and things of that nature, especially for nonprofits. Most nonprofits function off of some type of grant and funding. And let me let you know, there's literally 27 different types of nonprofits designations out there. So what your meaning and your business plan says that you're going to be doing is what they're going to make the determination from. So it's not an automatic. For instance, a nonprofit such as maybe United Way is a very different nonprofit than a hospital, but
Okay.
they're both nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
And let me take it to the next level. A United Way is very different from a hospital and very different from a museum, but all
Right.
three of those are nonprofits.
Okay.
It's
So
all
when you go to a museum, you pay a fee,
you
or
can't.
most of them you pay a fee. Well, most of them you pay a fee. You don't get to donate. You have to pay a fee, but they're technically a nonprofit. Like I'm talking about a museum. So they're getting money from the
Fees, just
fees.
like a church gets money from donations and
Okay.
from tithes and offering, and those are considered fees for the zoo, but or the museum. But a lot of the exhibits to bring that stuff into the for you to experience and walk through a museum and watch and see the exhibits that they have, they usually get grant funding to bring those exhibits in.
Can you still get loans? Do bank loans as a nonprofit?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And for nonprofit professionals, identifying funding sources. Again, that's a clarity. Everyone thinks you can only use money from funding and grants and things like that. But any way you make money is a funding source. So you can definitely charge fees, and you can, well, not fees, but you can charge donation prices and things of that nature, and you can make money as that. And deciding on the right funding model for your organization is the one of the most challenging tasks at hand, and making decisions about that. Again, a zoo or a museum may be and they're normally a 504c9 because a certain amount of their money does come from funding, and then a certain amount of their money comes from what they take in at facilities and locations and things of that nature. And so they don't get the same amount of funding. And so because they don't get the same amount of funding, that's the decisions that they've made in the process. As I said, when you start to define your business and do your business plan, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And once you start making those clear distinctions of the type of work that you're going to be doing, you start to clarify how the finances are going to be coming in. So some of our finances may be coming in through this venue. Some of them may be coming in through some other ways. Another question that is big for nonprofits that people don't know is, can you get grants even though you're a for-profit. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, ITB gets grants, and we are a for-profit business because we promise to do a certain service. And because we promise to do a certain service for Langston University, which is a nonprofit, we provide certain services and they pay us. And they pay us through a grant. So yes, for-profits also can get grant funding.
If your program is built specifically where you have something to a good to offer the community, that you can actually get grants for the service. It depends on what your service is and what your good is. Like
Yeah.
Ms. Johnson is specified, we have our specialized business services. We get paid for our business services. So I have another question since we're still on funding.
Wait 1 second. Let me go over this. Every organization needs money to stay afloat. And
Okay.
I want to make sure that that is emphasized. This is probably part of your question, but I want to make sure that's emphasized because that is a key component to this process, that every organization, I don't care what you are, for-profit or nonprofit, you need to figure money into your process. Everything that you do is not, because we get so often, and Sharnae, you know it, when folks come in there, well, I just love to do this and I would just do it for free. You know, they almost say I can do it for free. And I don't know why people are thinking that their time isn't, you can't pay people for your time. You don't have to give anything away for free. If it's a service that someone wants that is willing to pay for it, even if they're not paying for it directly, you can get a grant and pay for the services for them through that grant, but you are of value. And if you have a service to offer, that is exactly what you should do. And I just want to emphasize that there's no exception to this rule. Just because you're nonprofit does not mean free. It means that what I'm providing is a service that is required, no matter if someone is pre-qualified to afford it and or not. That's the only thing. Now, can somebody else pay me for that they're going to receive that, you know, I'm going to receive payment for that? Yes, there's social services, you know, most social services and adoption agencies and things of that nature, whole lot of programs that's out here that are what they consider free to the public, but that's because the organization that's providing that service has gotten a grant to provide it to you for free.
Right.
We have components of our business that function like that because of Langston providing money for them, especially for individuals with disabilities, to have their services provided for no charge. We provide a lot of the services. So
we provide all the services.
Yeah, we provide your services. So that is one component. And we don't ask a lot of questions. If you're disabled, you get your opportunity to have them. So, and we're a for-profit. So there's no lock into, can a nonprofit or a for-profit or it can be any type of entity. If you have a service that you're providing to the community at large and you're hitting that niche, that community, you can possibly find funding to get that process done and combine it with for-profit profit, money, revenue, and also grant money.
So if I have a for-profit, can I get money? If I'm getting money from my for-profit, can I give that money to my nonprofit? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's no, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had that. And fortunately, our trio, Christian, is not here, but not fortunately, but fortunately, Christian and I address that a lot with especially nonprofits trying to conform into a using money from your nonprofit to go to your for-profit and vice versa. I'm not saying you can't do it. What I am saying is that you need a lawyer to clarify what money can go where and how that can happen.
So like with the church, they are nonprofit, but they can have entities under them that could possibly be for profit.
Yes.
Different, but they have totally different tax IDs, correct?
That's the clarity of it. They have to have a different tax ID. For instance, if you have a church and the church sells books and things of that nature, say the preacher, he writes his own books, but he sells them through the church primarily. That is a own separate business that needs to be set up as a own separate business. So they do need their own tax ID number. They do need all of their information to set that up, separate from that nonprofit. So,
and I guess with that being said, the names don't have to differ that much from the main. It could, because is it like an umbrella?
it
could be.
It could be, but once you start getting into your separate tax ID number and things of that nature, is no reason why it needs to just flow like that. It could be a separate business with a separate business name, and I would strongly suggest that.
Okay.
So
because I asked that question because I want to do the clinic, but I also want to do mobile buses to go into the rural parts of West Virginia. So I don't know if that would be under the same. I do think, just from my knowledge of you telling me stuff, that I don't think it has to be different, but I do think it has to be different because one is we're on an actual bus, so I know my insurance has to be different for that. And I just think
if you're not charging a cost.
No.
If you're not charging a cost and you can include it into maybe Medicaid or Medicare someplace, and if they pay for transportation, that can be included in there.
Oh, okay. Because the point was to just, even though I'm going to build the clinic, I still want to be able to access individuals that can't still get to the clinic. And that's why that's another prong of me in the clinic that I want.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
So our next thing is the purpose and our mission, and the purpose and the mission for the board. Your board members are fiduciary responsibilities for steering the organization towards a sustainable future. And what that means is if they put their money into the organization, as executive board members are required to do, there's no gray area about that. They have some voice into the steering of the organization and making sure it sustains not only the money that they put into it, but to build on that money. And so the board creates governing documents, sets policies, attends and participates in board meetings, and depending on what point you're at, your business may require a more dedicated support from your board. Now, as Sharnae said, we had a big board meeting yesterday, and one of our board meetings, we've already set up. We have an executive board meeting going on Monday. That was our advisory and executive board combined yesterday. So now from that, we go to our executive board meeting, and we're going to discuss all the financials of the organization. And then we have days set up so that Sharnae, as our operations officer, she has our operations manual that she put together for our whole business and organization. So no matter where we're functioning, and right now we're functioning in New Jersey, in Virginia, and we're preparing to open up a facility in West Virginia. And so it's imperative now that our operations manual is lined up with everything that we do here in Richmond. So when we move to West Virginia and we bring in our new staff and folks there, that everything is going cohesively the same. And the way that we've done that is the board created these governing documents, and this is one of those documents. Our bylaws.
They didn't create it. We vote. The board votes on it. They vote on it and make any changes, any amendments of any documents in the overall manual. But I created it, and they vote. So what they want me to put in, take out, we'll do that, and then we'll meet one more time. And then from that vote, then it's a binding document for the company.
And during our and just so everyone knows how you conduct in the best way and the easiest way. I don't care if you in person and or not. It is always a good way. If you're not the greatest of note takers, do it virtually. Do a Zoom, and then set your board meetings so that you can record and
transcribe your notes.
Transcribe those and send them. Like today, we had 2 or 3 board members. One board member left early and 2 couldn't participate, but I already forwarded the whole meeting yesterday that we had to those folks so that they can see and hear everything we did. And during these meetings, we set policy, we vote on things. All of that stuff may mean something. And it means something because if your business ever got into a situation where you gotten sued for maybe a policy issue, say we decided that this is going to be the price for what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And someone in the community got an attitude and decided, I don't like the way you're doing that. And you just came up with that and just decided, Evelyn just decided to come up with that. And I'm challenging and I'm going to sue you for that. Well, the SEC, which is the State Corporation Commissions, where most people set up their business. When you set your business up, this is a space that you register your business. And you have to send in these forms. And they ask you, are you going to have board meetings and your minutes of those meetings? And they tell you all of that. And most people assume no one's paying attention to any of those documentations. And they're not until this situation happens, that you're getting sued because of something that you're doing. And then the next thing that occurs, this SEC steps in and says, okay, well, we're going to determine if they're right and if you're wrong. And how would they determine if I was right or if they're wrong? The only way they can do it is say, okay, well, let me see. Did your board decide that this is an actual policy that you're going to charge this price? And I want to see, the State Corporation Commission will see, I want to see the board meeting that it was held, the notes from that meeting, everyone who voted on it and everyone who made that decision to do it. If you cannot produce that document, you're going to lose in court. That's a fact. Because even though it seems like they're not paying attention, this is the honor system in this process. The State Corporation Commissions are not required to check over your documentation and rules and regulations and make sure you're having these board meetings. They tell you, if you're a nonprofit organization, if you're a corporation, a limited liability corporation, a C corporation, a S corporation, you have to have a board, and you have to have board meetings, and you have to have board meeting minutes. And based on those minutes is how you make your decisions. And based on those minutes is how we can check if this is the right decision. And if this is a decision that Evelyn came up with or that the team decided. Now, based on everything we do, we follow up in our operations manual, which is what Sharnae produces. She created and wrote it based on the everyday activity of everything that we do in the offices. So that comes through there very, very, it's checks and balances across the board. And so that's the why. And so as you all can see now, we're up to team building. And I kind of briefly go through this. It's not going to be a lot. Here's a list of the most important team building skills. It is important for your organization, for your board to function as a team. One of the things that we did a Myers-Briggs personality test for our board to kind of get an idea of how everyone kind of functions in this space and mentally. We're doing a lot. We're going to be, and Sharnae sends out a lot of questionnaires, a lot of engagement emails to say, what do you like, what you don't like, what do we need to improve, all of those things help.
So I'm not to cut you off. So Ms. Johnson had us in the beginning do the test, the Myers-Briggs test, but she's constantly sending us updating on YouTube videos just about us being on the board. Here at ITB, we do have board development where Ms. Johnson will come into your board meetings, especially your first few ones, and sit and help you get the quorum together. You have to take attendance. You have to, all the yeses you say yay, nay. Like, it is a way that you actually run a board meeting as well, even though it's on Zoom. It is a way that you talk. It's a lingo. You have to do things in a certain way as a board in having meetings. But for the team building, we do social events because we do actually will hope to like each other and not just do everything business with each other. We do try to do team building events where we used to have the networking events. We still have them. We'll have an official one in October, everyone. So be on the lookout for that.
We have one
But
Friday. We have one
yes,
this
and we have a midday lunching networking event at the office. It's on the fourth floor, 919 East Main Street. It starts at 12 o'clock and it is at the Truist Building, downtown Richmond. If you are available, come have lunch with us. We do have small refreshments, but you can bring your lunch and come and network, and it's going to be a great event. And that is this Friday. But on top of that, we also the networking, the you didn't change the slide. Okay, forms. Okay, but either way, team building.
I want to keep it. We're about an
Yeah,
hour.
go ahead. So just work with your team on business and on personal. I mean, not too personal, but like each other, because that's how you'll get those yes people to not actually be yes people. They'll push back a little bit and help you to grow and be a better CEO in every other position in the business.
And as a CEO, my job is to delegate. And I'm just going briefly through this: communicate, listen, and reflect. You should make a moment. You should make sure that your process is part of reflecting on what people say. Did I hear it correctly? Let me internalize some things. If you don't need to internalize it, don't internalize it. Don't worry about it. After you've made peace with it in your mind. But the biggest pieces with that is to make sure we're listening and communicating. The last piece that I'm going to share before we leave, and because we're going over a little bit, is our checklist for being a nonprofit. This is a form that if you need to have it sent to you, we can. It's 2 pages. It includes all of this information that needs to be included. And down here, down in this section right here, the schedules, these schedules, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, it's the reason why it's so many, because those are the types of different nonprofits it can be.
Ms. Johnson, can you zoom in from the top on your, can you zoom in if you can?
Let me see if I can make it.
It's right at the top. It says 100, the plus.
I'm going. Give me a second. Trying to get it over here so I can get to it. Right?
Yeah, because it's a little hard for me to see, so it might be hard for other people.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, but this is just the basics. And this is a checklist. And we provide every nonprofit with this checklist that's part of ITB that's building. We help you with these articles of incorporation and all of this information and your bylaws and things of that nature. We help you with everything. And if you need a copy of that, please don't hesitate to contact ITB and we'll get it to you. I'm going to over here right now to get back. If you need a copy of any of the information, this recording will be on our page. I apologize for going over. I thank Sharnae Johnson for staying with us. We're about 4 minutes over this week. This is a lot of information, and we have a lot more to share next week when we have contracts and procurement. That will be extensive as well. And we might get another board member, a ITB person on with us. But I wanted to make sure that we close out tonight with just letting you know, if you need this information, here's our email address down at the bottom. Don't hesitate to email us at info@inthebeginningco.com.
And we have,
and here's our telephone number. If you need to give us a call, we're in the office. You can give us a call anytime up until 6 o'clock. We will be answering. If it's anything after 6, we'll answer. We'll contact you the next day. So,
and I also would just like to say we are starting our Entrepreneur Academy. It starts in October. It is a $200 fee, but you do also get your computer. It is college credit, so you'll be able to use this the different classes for other educational purposes down the line. That is the Entrepreneur Academy. We are having our networking event this Friday on the 4th floor at the Truist Building, 919 East Main Street. We also are having a nighttime networking event, and I believe that will be the first weekend of October. Do not quote me, but we will be having things out soon. And don't forget as well, we are having our AFP, Americans for Prosperity, and in the beginning this Thursday, we're going to be talking about the housing laws and zoning, and this is a economic engagement event. Dinner will be served. It is also at the building, at our office, Truist Building, 919 East Main Street. It's at 7 o'clock. It is also on the 4th floor. So please come. We have a lot of events going on. We'll be back here Tuesday at 7 o'clock live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. We're here. Thank you guys for listening and supporting us through this journey. It's been a crazy ride, but we're here to stay. We're looking forward to all the new and great things that ICB has to offer. Thank you for having me, Ms. Johnson. I really appreciate it, and I'm ready to start my clinic. Almost.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. We will see you next Tuesday, same time, 7 o'clock. Have a great week and hope to see you at one of our events coming up. Also, Sharnae forgot to say, but I'm going to say it. If you have anything perishable that you want to come in and drop off at the office, because we have a Thanksgiving and Christmas drive, we're taking in perishable foods, non-perishable foods. I apologize for that. Non-perishable foods. We're partnered with Advocacy for Empowerment, which is another nonprofit that is formulated with ITB. It's one of our incubators, and this is their food drive and toy drive for the upcoming holiday season. If you have anything you want to drop off at the office, please come on in and drop it off. We are in the office pretty much every day. Have a great night. Watch the debate, folks. We are part of this process. Small businesses are right in this conversation. So make sure you're listening tonight and listen to how they respond to what they're going to be doing for small businesses. If you didn't know where you fit in, if you have a small business, if you have a family, if you have children that may be going to school, all of those are our issues. So make sure that you participate in listening to this debate tonight. It's going to be really important. I'm Evelyn Johnson, and I am with In the Beginning Incubator and Fund. And I thank you for coming on tonight, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.